Oh.
Oh, that was it. Okay, so, nope, on. Turn your head.
Oh,
talk.
much better.
Hey,
Oh,
Yeah.
There we go.
I don't want to fix it in post.
thank you.
You're welcome,
Appreciate it.
sugar.
Sweetie. Sugar.
All right.
pie,
So where are you
something
starting
like that.
from?
Sugar high.
Something like that.
Watermelon sugar high.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Outer Belt. I'm Patrick, and y'all are my friends.
Chili.
Buttermilk.
Eric.
And Jerry.
And Jerry.
I still can't get it.
All right, take 4. So welcome to...
Zucchini Bread.
You'll
Yeah.
You'll find
Okay.
your
You'll
groove.
find
I
your
got
groove.
it.
Yeah,
Find your
you'll
groove.
find it. Yep,
You just got to remember
Straight
what
my
you
life.
Madonna told us.
exactly.
Get into the groove.
That's right. I was gonna say.
Strike
yeah.
a pose.
No, Vogue. No, I was gonna. What's the other one?
You could just go on holiday.
It's not even Madonna. That's why I was like, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
No. Yeah.
What do they have? Let's groove. I was
Completely.
like, let's groove tonight.
Yeah.
Totally the same.
You know, Madonna.
Okay.
Madonna.
Yeah, Madonna.
Fire.
Yeah.
Well, as you've noticed, we have a new character on the show. Character. That's what it is.
There you go.
Yes. The character will be played by Zucchini Bread, who her stage name is Heather, but her real name is Zucchini Bread. And welcome to the show.
We're excited.
Are we
Happy to be here.
I am. It's more.
estrogen?
Yeah. uh-huh. We've got it equally divided amongst the cast in the room too.
We do.
I know.
I thought we already had enough with me on here.
I know.
thought so too,
I
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
At least 3 of us is half
Just
and
wait
half.
till they start to sync up with you when you.
Hey, well,
Wow.
we're trying to be a responsible show.
Oh,
you know,
are
we're being
we?
correctly political.
No one told me that.
Oh, well,
It's been all
Hormones
these
are
it
episodes
was
hormones.
in the
and no
term.
one's told me
It was
that.
in the terms and conditions that the sponsor gave us.
Yeah, I didn't read those.
What?
You told me to sign them or else.
Well, it was a scroll. Did you see it?
It was long. You said
What
sign
I
it
thought
or
was
else.
ridiculous because it's literally a scroll. Like it was
Yeah,
a
it
piece
was
of
truly-
wood
yep.
with
And it
paper.
said 4 scores and 7 years later.
And you had to like, kind of like those
Yeah.
old school comic book things
Yeah.
where you used to,
Just
you
turn it.
turn
Yeah,
them,
it was
and then
ridiculous.
but you had to go all the way to the bottom, and then once you got to the bottom, then it allowed you to sign the very top,
Right.
Which means you had to go
Scroll
all the way back. It was very.
Yeah, it
and
took
kind of
about
like
2
Willy
hours.
Wonka,
It did.
was half a contract, and you only had half the magnifying glass to read
That's correct.
only half the words on the half contract. It was really
So
complicated.
complicated.
Yes.
So
well, the
complicated.
DocuScroll, who happens to be our sponsor today.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I'm excited to have you, Zucchini Bread.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
I am excited to be here.
Good.
Ask me again in a month.
well, let me ask you real quick. Why are you here?
Why am I here?
Yes.
Because I got a request
Yeah. Go ahead.
by this guy that I know
Sounds nice.
to come here and try and
Put his life back together.
I guess that's a good way to put it.
I don't think it is. That sounds kind of harsh,
It
doesn't
does
it?
sound kind of harsh.
Or is it more like to assist him?
Oh, assist. That's right.
Assist
That's the
in
word.
putting his life back together.
Not that it's falling apart.
Of course not.
No, it's already
No.
fallen apart.
Oh,
He wanted me to be like Darth Vader and lift him up.
nice. I
Yes.
like that reference.
Yeah, I don't like it by the neck though. It's like I can't breathe.
If I could do that.
She's like tap out when you're about to pass out. Yes. Well, welcome to the team. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to Columbus.
Welcome to Columbus. Welcome to Team Hyfield. So, as you may have gathered by the insanity ensuing, Heather has come on board as an assistant for us. She is going to be assisting Eric and myself in the things that need assisting.
Yeah.
You know,
Sounds like a Dr. Seuss book.
well, we thought about a secretary,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then we realized a secretary has such limitations. An assistant has no limitations. They're wide open.
Wide open.
Wide open. You know what her job descriptions was?
Whatever
All
I tell you to
duties
do.
assigned by management. That was it.
That's easy.
It's not Dr. Seuss. It's the what's it called? The
Olympus?
no. What's their names? The movie you just referenced. Willy Wonka. It's the Willy Wonka contract.
The Willy. The Willy Wonka contract.
It's the one where the font keeps getting smaller and
Yes.
smaller.
Yes, and then half of it, because remember, it was only, the whole room was half.
I don't think I've seen this movie. This is with
Really?
Gene
The
Wilder.
Oh my
original?
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the opening
It's the
scene.
best.
Oh, I saw the opening like where Gene
Do you mean
walks out.
the trailer?
No, like where he where he walks out with the
cane?
cane,
Yeah.
and then he does the whatever.
Do you know
It's
that
genius.
no one on staff or the characters,
Cast?
nobody, but not even the behind-the-scenes camera people
Yeah.
knew what he was going to do in that moment.
What-
It wasn't written in the script, and so all of the reaction that you see in the movie is genuine,
Genuine.
reaction to his doing the stop and flop and roll.
I saw a thing that is, I think, rumor, maybe true, I don't know, that says that he only agreed to accept the role if they would allow him to do that. Because after he read the script, he said that there need to be something to make him more mischievous, and he
True.
felt that was a way to, you never can trust him.
Have you watched I guess it would be considered a biopic of him.
Of Wonka?
Of maybe it's not a. It's no. Maybe
I don't
it
think
wasn't
Willy
a
Wonka's
biopic.
a real person, is he?
No, of Gene Wilder. I think it was
Oh.
actually a documentary, but it was really good. I watched that
We saw
on
the
something. It
we
was really good.
saw the remake. I think it was with Eric, maybe.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
No,
but I mean, like, I don't know if I was with Eric or if I was with someone else. But I remember seeing the remake. It was fine. It just whatever. I really liked the latest one with Timothy Chalamet.
Chalamet? Okay.
And it's not a remake. It's just early Wonka.
Say his
when he's-
origin story.
It's his origin story when he's a
Yeah.
little kid. I thoroughly enjoyed that movie.
We started watching that. You may have finished it. I fell asleep.
possibly.
Shocking.
Which, when I fall asleep in a movie,
Yeah.
it is no judgment on the movie.
Yeah.
It's just what I do.
But if you stay awake, it is.
It is. It's really
It is
yeah.
judgment.
Then it's
the
a
thing.
must see.
Then it's a must see.
Must see.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what I say? Movies are meant to be watched in 15 parts.
I agree.
That's,
I
you know,
completely agree.
When they change scenes,
Yeah.
it's out.
That's it. We'll come back to it another time.
So Chili has a Z schedule or a Z rating scale, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if the more the Z's, the worse the movie. The less the Z's, the more he saw of it.
That's funny. Jerry, do you
again-
fall asleep at movies?
It depends. If I'm into it, then I don't. But
No matter what time in the evening you start it, like a 6 o'clock, you push play, you're gonna.
if it's something I really, really am into, then yeah, I'm into it.
Okay.
But do you have those favorites that you really love that you can, like, I've seen enough, I'm going to bed?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like modern TV, being able to pause and play and pick up where you left off really is fix that. Because,
Sure.
like, back in the day, I remember, like, if Star Wars or something like that came on TV, which it would, like, once a year, I remember, like, you had to sit there and watch it. Or, even better, record it onto a VHS.
Yeah.
Oh,
And do you remember the frustration of getting to the end to find out that the last 15 minutes were cut
Cut
off?
off because you didn't have enough tape.
Because or it said it was going to be like 8 to 10, so I
Right.
only set it for 2 hours recording, but it
it
went
went over a
it
little
went
bit.
over a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
fresh.
That was the worst.
That's terrible. Just
The worst.
terrible,
Terrible.
terrible. If we had some that like the first 10 minutes are missing because we're like, oh, this is on, quick, get a tape.
Yeah.
And so we just we always picked it up from that point on. But that was back in my day when we had VHSs and could record. You had
Beta.
Betamax.
Grandma recorded stuff on Betamax. There was a lot of Garfield cartoons for some reason on Grandma's playlist. I guess when we went over, that's what she thought we wanted to watch.
Well, how old were you?
I was probably 10 to 13.
Oh, that's okay. You're aging out of that. Yeah, we always did. We had a bunch of the Warner Brothers stuff, Looney Tunes. Oh, loved it.
We
We had a
convinced her
bunch of-
finally to record Desperately Seeking Susan. That was the year that the cousin and I stayed with Grandma and Grandpa, and she consented to it being recorded on Beta.
What is that?
Madonna's first breakout movie.
What, Donna was an actor? Chris?
Yeah. Oh, she's played in quite a few movies.
Really?
Evita. Evita's one of my
Not
favorite.
good movies, but
Exactly. They weren't the
Bite
top
your
quality,
tongue,
but, you know.
I love Elvis. None of his movies are watchable. So I
You
get
were going
that.
to say something
You were.
I was.
about Garfield cartoons and Beta.
Oh, I was going to say, Patrick said, they had VHS. He looked at me to see what we had. We just watched silent movies. Silent films. Yeah. That's all we had was silent films.
I remember
good.
grabbing tapes to record, and then you don't have any blank tapes, so you're grabbing something that you don't care about and putting
Yeah,
a little
recording
tape
over it.
over it
Yep.
so you can record.
It had word, your strip that you could. E.T. was written
Oh.
on one of them, so you had to make sure, like you said, is it a movie we can record over?
No, Jerry meant putting a piece of tape over
Yeah.
the clip that you'd pop out.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
yes.
you
Yeah.
couldn't record over it.
Yep.
Putting tape over that so you could record.
We
over
did
it.
that with
Oh, I
Cassette
forgot about
tapes.
that.
we did that with like the promotional videos that they would send out. You know, like I remember when Winn Dixie came to Baton Rouge, the sprawling
Oh,
metropolis.
yeah.
They sent a videotape out showcasing their store, and she's walking through our beautiful deli, and we have hot food available, and we have this, and the people are eating in the grocery store, which was unheard of back then. Like, maybe in California was a thing y'all were doing out on the West Coast, but in Louisiana, nobody was going to the grocery store and eating their food in the grocery store. What? That's insanity. Now it's like totally normal.
Sure.
Like
Right.
it's
Sure.
like Whole Foods is a great evening out, eating there. They sent this whole promo out. She's walking down, and here's our luxurious Coca-Cola aisle, which, in hindsight now it's ridiculous. But we absolutely, because they had that little whole thing.
Yeah.
You put a little, we used, the tape was over, but I want to say with like stuffed cotton or something in there, and then put a tape over it, and then you could record a little bit on there. So yeah, that was good times.
I've never heard of a grocery store promoting by sending you a VHS.
It's
I
the
haven't
only
either.
one I've ever heard of. It was the
Wow.
craziest thing. And I remember it showed up, and it's like, oh, look at this. Pontiac, when Pontiac put out their Aztec, you remember that
Oh, that was a great
piece
vehicle.
of car?
Yeah.
Piece of car.
Great vehicle.
They sent one out with that. And the Montana, they did it with the Montana as well. Do you remember
Wow.
the Montana van?
No.
The Montana was supposed
No.
to be like the latest and greatest. It was going to kick the Astra van's tail. It was all-wheel drive, but it's still a minivan. And so the whole promo video is them like driving this thing in the desert, and like it's a Western theme, and they're all like cowboys, like, come on now, everybody get in the Montana. We're gonna go to town and get some chuck or something. I don't know. It's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I gotta find that on YouTube and I'll show it to you all. But
And they're
yeah.
sending VHS in
they're
your mail.
sending VHSs in the mail.
As like spam mail
yes,
or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Junk mail,
It
I
was
guess
an
we would call it.
advertisement.
And
You
open it
never
up,
got a cassette of anything
No.
advertised to you.
negative.
Nope.
But y'all didn't have electricity, so I feel like that's not fair.
That was a challenge. Yeah.
Did your grandmother get them? Because
No, no.
did you ever get these, Jerry? I mean,
No.
you're kind of from where?
I never did.
Eric? No.
No.
Well, y'all didn't live in the sprawling metropolis of Baton Rouge,
No,
Louisiana.
we didn't.
There we
didn't.
had those high tech, sophisticated things. What about promo CDs? Y'all ever get promo CDs?
Yes.
Yes.
AOL?
Got promo
No. Oh
CDs.
my
No.
gosh.
I mean, come on.
I got more AOL, CompuServe,
Yeah.
Prodigy,
Yeah. All over
of
the
those
place.
things.
Yep.
We use them as target practice eventually. I'm not kidding. We'd set them up,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'd take the BB gun out there, or pellet gun, and just have at it because we had thousands of them. People decorated their Christmas trees with them. Do you remember all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tons of
Jerry's
stuff.
like,
back then.
I've never heard of such a thing.
What?
Oh, yeah, I've had tons of them, yeah.
You've had the CDs too?
Yeah, I had AOL free for years because I created an email every time I
Constantly.
had a new one.
They would do like good for 30. Sometimes they could do good for 60 or 90 days too. And
Yeah.
yeah, I remember that. Good old.
I bought my CDs, 12 for a penny.
Oh, I've done that.
I definitely got my collection
My
going.
first round of that was Madonna's Immaculate Collection.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We had to buy the Entertainment Center
Ooh.
from Shopco. You don't have one of those like Target. Anyways, it had the
Shop goes no
CD
longer.
slots on either side, and you'd stuff your CDs, and the TV sat in the middle, and
Was
then
it
down
that-
below was the radio system.
Was it? Did you have the beautiful oak finish, or did you
Yes.
have
No,
the
it was-
black finish?
no, it
Because
was
those were
oak.
the only two options, if
Ours
I'm not
was oak.
mistaken.
Ours was
It was,
oak.
and then Cherry. Remember when Cherry showed up? Because forever it was literally black laminate
Yep.
or oak, and then Cherry came on the scene. It was like, what is
Yeah.
this high-end luxury we've rolled into? Of course, now you got 1,000 colors, but.
I probably had stock in that company. I can't even think of what the CD company.
I was gonna ask, have you gotten your
BMG,
Columbia House?
BMI
Columbia
or
House.
BMG?
I think it might have been Columbia House, but in the end, I probably had over 500 CDs because that was way before like Apple and Pandora, and you had to have a mix of music. I was going to say menagerie. A mix of
She
music.
whispers into the mic.
I remember my aunt got her 200 disc Sony
I
CD
know, right?
player.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh, that was great. And you'd hit
We had
random.
6.
You could do random or shuffle.
Yes.
And it was great because it would be like play a song and then beep.
Yeah. You hear the robot inside. it.
I remember whenever I got my first.
Just dance. You like
I remember when I got my first 6-disc CD player for the car, and it went in the trunk.
Yeah.
And to change it, you always had to go to the trunk and
Yeah,
take it
take it
out
out.
and put your new 6 in. And
I
How
thought
about
that
that? The
was.
CD case that you had to have in the
oh yeah,
car?
Oh, yeah.
or on the visor, flip
Yep.
it down and pull out.
Yeah.
I always thought that the 6 CD thing I hated. So my aunt, she got a Mercedes when I was in middle school, and had the AM/FM radio with the tape in the middle. And this, because it was Mercedes Benz, in the console it had the little tape grooves.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then in the back she had the 6 CD changer,
Yeah.
and it was such a pain in the butt. It was like if we wanted to hear something other than that, you had like I said, you had to pull over, go through, pull the cassette out, revet it, and put it back in. And I thought it was so stupid because the cheaper version was just an AM/FM radio with a CD, and I'm like, I'd rather it's that than I
Just
would.
slide it in.
But that was
The Ridgeline actually had in the console when you opened it, it had the slots for maybe 6 or 8 CD, the case and everything.
oh yeah,
So that was what my last vehicle I had. So, and it had the 4 CD, maybe 6.
Built in?
Built in.
Mom's
What
mom's,
it didn't have though was an auxiliary input to
yeah,
jack in your phone.
yep. Mom's
Nope.
Ford Explorer had the Pioneer 6 CD changer in the dash. So if you wanted, disc 3 out, you had to like select it and then wait for it to do its magic and then pop it out and you could slide one in. I loved when I was a kid. I had the Pioneer 200 watt
Ooh.
home stereo 25 disc changer, but Pioneer was genius. It had one additional slot.
Oh yeah, the ones.
It was 25 plus one.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, it made it so great. All my usuals were in the 25, and then if anytime a friend would come over or something like that, it was so easy to pop one in. You didn't have to like,
Yeah.
because they were in there like a millimeter apart from each other. They shoved those 25 CDs in there so freaking tight.
Wow.
Oh, it was good times.
Good times.
But you're right, no aux. Remember the original aux input, right? It was
The big quarter inch?
the eighth inch,
Oh, eighth inch.
the eighth inch to cassette.
Yes, I had one of those.
Eighth inch to
I've
cassette.
had one of those
Yep.
hooked up to the CD player, the Walkman,
Yes,
because it went from cassette to CD.
Right.
yes.
So you had to put the cassette in
You had the Walkman.
and hook it up to the. I had an original OG with like the cassette Walkman, and then I don't know. I went to something. You hope it had skip resistant,
Yes.
right,
Oh.
or bounce
I had the-
resistant.
And anti-skip. Oh.
So I had
because it was in the car now,
Yes.
and then it was feeding. Oh my! I had one of those. Yep.
We had the Panasonic, and this was one of the advantages of being. I'm 4 years younger than my sister, so she would get things before I would.
Yeah.
So she got the Panasonic CD player with no anti-skip because it didn't exist yet. And so she had that. It had bass boost, which was cool, but it like literally you would just set it on your next to your computer and plug your little computer speakers in or something. Like if you moved it, it immediately stopped working.
Right.
When I finally got around to being old enough to get one, that was out. So mine had like 10 seconds. Does that sound right? 10
Yeah.
seconds
Sounds
of
right,
anti-skip. And that was great. I would actually like put that in my pocket, and I would throw my. You remember the headphones that were out for a while that like clipped on your ear?
Yes.
They didn't go in your ear; they like
Yes.
slid over your ear.
Right. Yeah.
I would use that while I was cutting the grass.
And you go for a jog with it, it wouldn't skip.
Not a jog. When
Oh.
I'm cutting the grass.
You weren't
But
jogging?
you would literally see me like cut the grass and then stop.
Wait
and then
for
cut the
skip.
grass. Wait for it to catch up. Wait for it to catch up. Because it would work pretty good, but I
Yeah.
mean after a little bit it would be like, oh, hold
Yeah.
on.
Gotta catch up.
All right, we're
Gotta
back in
buffer.
business and then keep going again.
Oh, kids nowadays don't even know.
They don't even know.
No.
No.
Don't even know.
Even iPods are obsolete.
How about you got to take that cassette tape out and use the pencil and wrap it all back in and hope
Yeah,
to God
make sure
it-
it didn't
Oh
get
man,
twisted
do you remember that
while
horror?
you were doing it?
Do you remember that horror of pulling a cassette out and just?
Yeah. and just
It's
grab
like,
it.
no.
and you're like, don't break, don't break, don't break. I spent
remember-
$12 on you.
I remember when I got my first Acura.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
it actually had CD player in the dash, just a single disc, but it had the hard drive built in, so that way
yeah.
you can load up to like 1,000 MP3s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dodge had that for a while. Like I've never owned one, but I've rented a lot of caravans over the years, grain caravans over the years, and they don't have CarPlay in them, but they have like an 80 gigabyte hard drive,
Yeah.
and you could bring your memory card and upload it or whatever. But the transfer times are ridiculous. It'd take you forever,
Forever.
to load it.
Sure.
Um,
Well,
but-
even the small mini MP3 players, the transfer time was
yeah.
ridiculous on those.
yeah,
It was ridiculous.
I never had an iPod. Like we couldn't afford an iPod, so I always had like a Fujitsu version of the iPod.
Sure. Well, there were tons of them out before the iPod showed up on the scene.
Yeah.
Did you have a Zoom?
No.
Did you? Oh.
For like maybe a month, and then I was like, okay, I'm getting an iPod. I just can't handle this.
No, but I remember, iPods came out. They're the size of an iPhone.
Oh yeah, the very
Scroll.
first one.
Yeah, they're
It had the
great.
scroll wheel, the click wheel. I had one.
A lot of people say they still work if you have one. But
And
Wow.
you've got a FireWire cable, and
Yep.
but that was the game changer though for the iPod was the FireWire connection.
it's fast.
because it was so fast.
Yeah.
It was so fast.
Yeah, I remember years ago I worked with a church and I helped put together a scavenger hunt for the youths. We were like, okay, the goal was go around and do something, but then you had to like take a picture of it. And I'm like, how can we pull this off? Because by that time Polaroids were pretty much gone.
Okay.
So you couldn't just buy a Polaroid camera. They were extremely expensive. Nobody had cameras on their phones anymore,
Right.
or if they did, they were terrible.
Sure.
And iPhones weren't out yet, so it was like, what do we do? And we ended up buying these cheap digital cameras at like $80 a pop, and gave them to every team. And they went out, and then we had to upload those pictures into the laptop, and that took so long that we didn't plan for. We were like, we'll announce the winners next week. Like we just didn't know it was going to take that long to upload every single picture.
Yeah.
Super slow,
Oh,
brutal.
those kids probably were so disappointed.
They forgot about it by the next week.
I'm sure they did.
I don't know if we ever announced the winner.
We actually did a scavenger hunt like that in Europe. A friend of mine put one on, and the cell phones and that were good enough.
Yeah.
So we had them take pictures of things.
Those are
And
fun
it's
to
the
do.
same thing. I mean, it took like an hour for us to go through
Oh yeah.
everything, and
Yep.
I was too drunk. I didn't do it. But I was told it took a really long time to go through all the pictures.
Fun.
Oh, I love reminiscing, but let's reminisce about the past 3 days.
Past 3 days. No, thank you. Can I be excused for this session? The past since Friday.
Since Friday.
Yeah.
What's happened Friday?
Snow.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I thought y'all just got it.
Can I be excused for this session? I'm just gonna just hang out. You guys talk. I'm gonna.
You can't be excused, but you can lay on the couch.
Okay.
If that helps.
So it started Friday.
Yeah, it started Friday.
I was waiting for you to finish.
No, I was
And?
just giving the reason why I want to be excused since Friday.
Yeah,
I
It's
wish
been
we would have got
Temperatures.
more.
cold and snow.
we got
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah, it shut the whole company down.
What did you say?
I wish we would have got more snow.
Apparently, he wasn't in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Cincinnati got.
Apparently,
my
he wasn't in
gosh.
the yard.
It was so funny. Eric and I were out of town, and we were driving up from Florida, and on the way up there we get to Atlanta, which we'd planned to be our stop for the night. And I saw the weather was just really getting bad, so I sent a message over to Vince, and I'm like, "Hey, I think we're gonna hang out here in Atlanta." And Jimmy and Kelly who work for us. They don't live very far, a couple hours away. We're gonna go see them and just hang out with them all day tomorrow, and we're not going to attempt to make that drive back. And you wrote me back, and you're like, well, it's only going to be like 4 inches of snow. What are you worried about? And I'm like, Cincinnati's getting a foot of snow. And you wrote back a little bit later, you were like, oh, wow, you're right. It's
Yeah,
going to be bad.
It's bad.
It dropped down.
It was
It
bad.
ended up dropping further below
South,
I-70.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
went south.
It went way south.
Otherwise, I mean, it was literally on target to just come clear across the
Yeah.
70.
Yep.
But somehow it shifted a little bit, and it did go like even here in Columbus, further south, down by Hawking Hills and Chillicothe and Circleville and all of that got hammered a little harder than we did.
They got more snow.
Yes.
What hurt us was the wind.
Wind is brutal.
Was it sustained 20 miles?
My ability to function outdoors was the wind.
Yeah.
Because even when it stopped snowing, the wind was still blowing snow around
20
everywhere.
to 30 mile gusts
and
they were
that
having.
chill was just insane.
Yeah.
We were looking at single-digit wind chill.
Yeah.
And snow blowing around everywhere.
Yeah.
Our neighbors yesterday morning when I was leaving for work and it was snowing, our neighbors were out shoveling their driveway and their sidewalks. And when I got home yesterday afternoon, you couldn't tell. If I hadn't seen them outside shoveling, I would have had no idea they were outside shoveling. And it had stopped snowing, but the wind had just covered everything back up.
Yeah, I noticed that yesterday. When I finally got back yesterday, first thing I did was fire the snowblower, and I went and did a couple lines of it just to like make sure it worked, and it had electricity and everything. It's not gas powered; it's battery powered, electric. And it did. It worked great, and I was like, cool. I'll do the rest tomorrow morning. And put it back up. And when I came out this morning to do it, you could kind of tell where I had walked, and it wasn't supposed to snow last night. And I woke up and it was snowing. It wasn't
It
like
was snowing again this morning.
It wasn't like the wind blew and so a little snow came out of the trees. It was legit
snowing.
full on snowing.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I looked at the radar and the radar said snowing. Or the weather said snowing, but the radar was like crystal clear.
Yeah, nothing. Nothing on it at all.
It was weird.
We probably got 6 to 8 inches. 6 inches. I went out there
I
and
think
shoveled
officially
it
we
today.
got like 5 inches.
It was a good shovel path for the.
But we also are
backyard.
in the end of that cul-de-sac where all the wind blows everything and it just kind of stays there too.
It does. It does.
Yeah, but even at the yard, that was about 5-6 inches.
Yeah,
that we were
it was a good amount of snow. Yep.
Well, they're calling for more Friday.
We just got to make it tomorrow to Thursday.
I know.
Tomorrow to Thursday.
Thursday's going to be cold. Like the high's like 18.
That's
the
okay.
the
We'll
low's
take
like
it.
7.
That's fine.
It's hopefully
That's
the roads are
fine.
cleared by
That's
then.
fine until we have to fuel the truck.
I'm okay with that too.
You know
That's
those
quickly.
days. So Buttermilk and I were going to pick up 2 trucks we just bought. We bought them out of Missouri. We're bringing them back. So we're flying out tomorrow, and then we'll pick the trucks up the next day. And I was just thinking, like, how many times have you been like in your T-shirts, flip flops? It's 86 degrees inside your truck, and you're maybe not that warm, maybe 72 degrees in your truck.
Yeah.
You're doing great, whatever. It's like, all right, I got to pull over and use the bathroom. You pull into the truck stop, and you open that door, and it's like, oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
Yep.
Especially if it's not snowing. It really screws. If it's
does.
snowing, you get a hint.
Yeah.
But if it's not snowing and beautiful
Sunny.
sunshiny day, it hurts.
It's cold. It's going to be cold. But we're going to make it happen. Just no snow.
Yeah, no snow.
Next 48 hours, no snow. Between St. Louis and here.
They're saying 1 to 2 inches Friday. It's supposed to be Friday,
We'll be back Friday.
late Friday. So
No snow, no rain. You'll be good.
Yeah.
If it can wait till I get off work Friday afternoon, I'm okay.
from what I've seen, it says
Friday
late
night.
Friday.
Yeah. Yep. At any rate, we need winter. We need some water. We were in a deficit last summer,
Yeah, bad drought.
which we talked about that. So
Yep.
I don't know if it works the same as
Can it just
Oregon.
stay out in the farms and not come to the city where I got to work in it?
Like I don't know if they
Like where
hold
it's
water.
sweating?
Like we
Corn
need.
sweat?
Yeah, corn sweats.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you know, on the West Coast, you have
I
to have
know- I know
snowfall
ex-
and rainfall
I
to
understand
fill
that.
up the lakes.
I just want the snowfall and the rainfall and the cold to stay out of the city where I'm at.
But my question is
I mean, I'm
is
not
Ohio
bitter
the
at
same
all.
way? Like, are we filling up reservoirs so that it'll water everything, or do we really
I
rely on water?
I don't think that we're counting on that. I think we're counting on the snowfall in Michigan. Because Michigan, a lot of Michigan's watershed comes through Ohio.
And they do have mountains in Michigan. We do have reservoirs. We have Hoover Reservoir.
They have mountains in Michigan.
Yeah, but they're not deep around here. Anyways, I just don't think it's the same like Oregon or California where we rely on that water to
I
get
hear
us
you.
through.
I
Yeah, there's
summer.
no snow caps that we're waiting,
No,
hoping to
so
build.
I really think that where we live depends on the rain that we get organically
Through the
throughout
years.
the summertime. Because I mean, we've even talked about that. They don't have sprinkler systems on their
Yeah,
crops.
they're on the farms out
They're
here.
they're
yeah.
waiting on the rain to happen.
Oh.
They don't do irrigation?
No,
Most
they
of
might
them
do
don't.
flood irrigation, but again,
Or they might do it on smaller vegetable crops with the big cornfields.
No, it's all natural.
Don't
It's
got all the
all
big
natural.
pipes and
Yep.
everything.
When we first moved here 2.5 years ago, we were concerned about having to water the lawn and take care of stuff. We didn't have to water the lawn the whole summer because it rained every couple of days, enough to keep the grass green.
I have we have
last summer was rough.
Yeah, I have an irrigation at my house, but only because I'm at a grade, and there's only like 3 inches of soil above bedrock, so it doesn't hold any moisture in. But like my dad lives where they live, it holds water in. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it's a fun place. This state we live in.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really truly fun, and then I'm done with it.
The
Summer's
state
great.
or
So-
the winter?
So are we announced? Are we
winter.
publicly
Okay.
announcing that we're relocating to Miami?
Yes, please. Yes. Tomorrow, let's go.
I can't because come July you'll be like,
goodness.
so about Ohio.
No, come
July.
July, I'll be happy. I'll enjoy the heat and humidity. I grew up in Los Angeles. I can deal with the heat.
That is
Now-
that Los
now,
Angeles
I didn't
and
say
Miami
humidity.
are
I didn't say I can deal
Los
with the
Angeles
humidity.
and Miami are two different. That's
I said I can
different.
deal with the heat.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Miami is like March, April.
That's true.
Time to leave.
Yeah, I always think like, oh, it'd be so great to be, have a summer home and a winter home and all
Sure,
that stuff.
yeah.
But I just think about like the maintenance. I feel like if I had a winter home in Florida, every time you go home for the winter, your first week or two is just
Getting
fixing
stuff.
stuff,
In order.
knocking the cobwebs out.
Yeah.
Down there, it's getting rid of the roaches. Like it just.
Scorpions.
And then when you think about all of
crabs.
the winter you're missing by being there, it's completely worth it.
Well,
I'll spend that week fixing stuff
I
up.
don't know. Is it Mr. Wonderful or one of them was talking about how vacation homes are such a waste of money, and I think they're right.
Money's different. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some value there, I think.
If you, there,
It's like paying somebody to change the oil in your car.
well,
You can do it yourself.
yeah. I think the difference is the return on your investment you don't see until you sell it, which could be after you're dead. So I mean, like,
Sure, but if
Pay for your
it's
funeral.
strictly an investment, you're buying cheap, selling high.
Yeah.
But if you're using it and you're reaping the benefits of it immediately for just the emotional and physical well-being of not being in freezing. I almost cursed in freezing cold weather all day long.
yeah.
Then it's worth having that investment in something that you can enjoy.
But that's why I'm saying an airplane,
I hear you.
because you could
I
just
hear
fly
you.
south.
Fly south for
Fly
what?
south for the
Fly,
winter.
winter?
no,
Yeah.
fly
The
south.
whole winter?
All right, what are we, birds?
Friday
Exactly.
Friday afternoon, get off work, get in the airplane, fly to Florida, spend all weekend there, fly
Defrost.
back, refreeze.
Defrost.
Yeah, refreeze. Exactly. Exactly. I don't know if you noticed it. I'm sitting here in a hoodie,
You are.
and you're sitting there in a t-shirt.
It's warm
Because
down
I'm
here.
still not warm from earlier today.
We got the fire
I'm still
going.
trying to warm up.
Got the synthetic
I'm
fire
still
going.
trying to warm up.
Well,
Synthetic fire, one little candle flame.
no, I'm at the behind
Oh,
the camera.
wait,
There's
it's
a,
way
it's
over
way
there,
over
too.
there.
Way over there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it makes noise, and I don't want the
I
noise.
get it. Well, so we've got our one candle flame.
Yes.
But,
and huddle around the fire.
Today, the sun peeked through for
Did
half
it?
a second. Funny thing,
Half a second.
driving south, actually longer than that, driving south, the sun peeked through. I was like, oh, look, there's sunshine. And then we get down to Grove City, and it's partly cloudy skies.
Huh.
And again, it was snowing on the way down there.
Yeah.
We get to partly cloudy skies in Grove City. Grove City had to deal with God or something to have a little partly cloudy, and they could see blue sky and the sun today, while the rest of us were dealing with
Snow.
friggin' snow.
It is a 4-letter word.
Snow.
It is, yeah. I was going to combine a couple of 4-letter words there.
But it is so pretty.
Not anymore.
When
Now
you
it's
don't
all
have to go
nasty
out
and
dirty
it's,
and-
right.
When I drove in last night, it was beautiful.
When you look outside after a first snow, it's gorgeous. I have a picture actually from the yard from Friday morning,
Mhm.
where if you're looking in the back corner behind the trucks, beautiful. If you take out the chain link fence,
Yeah.
It was a beautiful picture of the snow and the trees and everything. If I could just stand there and stare at it for a little bit, great. Like I said, when you're standing out looking out the front window on a first snow, and it's beautiful, this blanket of untouched snow, maybe some rabbit
Or squirrel.
or squirrel droppings, or footprints or footprints.
footprints. Yeah, that makes more
it's gorgeous. Now, it's been trampled. We shoveled it. No.
Can I give you a little bit of good news? 72 days until spring.
That's not good news. That sounds terrible.
It
That
does
sounds
sound terrible.
It's a
It's
death
like
sentence.
still
All right.
72 days. Huh?
That's not. Hey, it could
Sorry.
be more.
Right?
Yesterday it was 73
I
days.
apologize for my negative attitude. I really do. I asked to be excused. He wouldn't excuse me, so you got negativity because I'm tired of the damn cold.
And it's
hear
just
you.
started,
Yes, it's getting
Thanks,
colder.
Heather.
Nothing but getting
I'm
colder.
Thanks for
saying.
keeping it real.
Nothing but getting colder.
right? I mean, you can dream,
Jerry wants 5 feet of snow.
right?
I have to admit, I enjoy it. I like it. I love snow,
Do you-
but I do get to work from home, and so I get to enjoy the prettiness and everything. So I really do think I am all for. We need to shift positions around, and Vince just needs to assist me in the IT department during the
Okay.
wintertime.
All right.
And
And who's going to help Melissa in the yard?
that's totally your call, not mine.
Okay.
We should.
All right. All right. All right. So here's what I'm thinking.
Well, we have a
Vince,
new
tell me what you think.
assistant.
Vince, tell me what you think.
I got coveralls.
You do video editing and IT solutions in the winter.
Okay, I'm listening.
And if you
Oh.
even have my name come out of your mouth,
And then
Jerry loves the snow, though.
and then
He
Sen-
does love the snow.
and then Senor Burrow.
Okay, Senor Burrow.
does
Yeah.
not work for Hyfield.
That's cute. That's cute. So, do you go out and do snowball fights with Dawn, or make
No.
snowmen, or make snow angels, or
Does this
You
look like
do
the face of
nothing.
someone who
He
does?
doesn't
you
even
do
go
nothing in the
outside.
snow? You just
He
like to look
enjoys
at
it
its
from the window.
aesthetics.
I just said I like to,
The aesthetics.
I woke up Saturday morning after it snowed all night Friday
With your
night.
cup of coffee.
Yep, and I went straight to the door and I took pictures and I took video and it was all pretty and pristine and yeah, I just want to stay inside
We
and
should
look
go
at it.
sledding.
I just want to look at it.
Are they studying right down the road
They
here?
were.
They were, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I really want to go to Vail or somewhere like that.
That's
and,
a different kind of snow.
It is.
and you know, driving to Denver or flying to Denver, drive the Jeep up into Vail, and get into the nice chalet, and sip hot cocoa and stare out the window
Yeah,
for
I'm down.
2 or 3 days,
I
and
have
then
said
fly
that
back.
over and over. I would love to do that.
Yeah,
I would love to
I'm
just
down.
go
Yeah.
and be in front of the fireplace. And
Yeah.
Larry Miller, who's a comedian, hysterical comedian, if you don't know who he is, has a whole bit on like skiing, and he said the best thing about skiing is the secret to skiing is you go and you ride the ski lift up, and you see the beautiful scenery and enjoy the company, people you talk to along the way. And then just ride it right back down. As soon as you get down, the waitress gives you another beer. You get back on the ski lift, go right back up, and do it all over
Oh,
again.
that's funny.
I say no.
I
The
agree.
secret to
I
skiing
completely agree.
is to stay at the lodge.
Yes.
But you
Yes.
got to have a big, giant
Big
window.
window.
Where you're
They gotta
watching
have big
everybody else
windows.
do it?
Oh yes.
I've done that
Oh, yeah.
before.
Oh man,
Although-
sit there,
It's
watch
amazing.
the ski paramedics
Patrol, yeah.
out
Ski
there.
patrol?
Yeah, you know when people walk back, you kind of like guess or gamble on what the injury is. I think it'd be great. I think it would be a blast.
It was a lot of fun. I've
the
done
first-
it in Ashland before, and I've done it at Mount Bachelor in Bend, Oregon. It's a lot of fun to just sit in the lodge and
That's cool.
watch the mayhem and be warm. Why the young children, your young
Right.
children,
Yeah.
my young children, were out there freezing, but they had a good time, so that's all that matters.
Well, I'm not a fan of hot tubs, but that is one time
Oh.
when it's like cold outside
Yeah.
to sit in a hot tub, especially when it's snowing.
Yeah,
Yep, done that.
That's actually kind of fun.
yeah.
It is fun.
Vince and I are not allowed in the hot tub together.
No, we're not.
It's a
We are not. No.
it's a long story.
Yeah, long story.
I was going to say that my first time ever going skiing with friends, we were there for 2 days, and the first place they went was Breckenridge, where I attempted 2 times down the mountain. First, I thought I would do skis like everybody else. Ended up almost wiping out a school of 9 kids in the process. So I thought, skiing's not for me. Let me go put on a snowboard, see if that's any better.
And
Even worse. So that was the first day of our skiing. The second day we went to Keystone, which if you're a truck driver and you're hauling hazmat, you can't go through the
Tunnel.
Eisenhower Tunnel. You have to drive all the way up the bypass to the Loveland Pass.
yes.
And I think that goes all the way up to Keystone. And when we did our trip the second day to Keystone, hot chocolate in a lodge, huge window, watching everybody go by. It was so beautiful
Nice.
and safe.
Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't have to worry about anything.
Nice.
Sometimes, if I'm being totally honest, I sit in the car and with a cup of hot coffee and just look out the window and watch Melody work.
I feel bad for the teams that are moving in. This
do
is
too.
not the weather you
No.
want to be moving into, and it's impossible to get the trucks clean because as soon as we drive them to the
Pick a
truck
point.
wash, which is literally
A block
blocks?
away.
a block away,
Yeah.
1,000 feet,
Yeah.
maybe away. By the time you drive it right back, it's got black streaks and stuff all over it
Yep.
from the freaking salt and all the crap they put on the road.
And then the next morning when we go
I
to
was
do the
gonna
move in, everything's frozen. The locks
Oh,
are
yes.
frozen, the
Yep.
toolbox are frozen. And then we can't clean the floor. We usually wait until the morning of a move in to do our final cleaning of the floor. Because after you clean, we're in and out of the truck still. Well, we can't clean the floor because
It freezes.
as soon as you spray
Yeah.
cleaning solution, it freezes on the floor. Yeah, it's just fun.
We had
What's really fun though is when a team comes in on a day like this to move in and they're just not prepared.
oh yeah.
And
And you're going to hang out
we
outside.
get out of the van and we're all bundled. I got my hoodie on with my balaclava and thermals. And I'm
still
I'm
use
just
the electric
packed
jacket
up.
or not?
I still use electric jacket. Yep, and the lights on. They can see the light on my jacket on. And you walk up to them, it's like you weren't prepared at all for this, were you? Well, we're going to spend the next 15 minutes outside the truck.
Yeah.
So if
Welcome
you
to
got a
trucking.
heavier jacket you want to put on, why don't you do that?
Yeah, but then you meet every now and then you meet that one person who's in flip flop shorts and a t-shirt,
Oh yeah, it happens.
and they're like, "Oh, I'm fine."
yeah, like all right.
All
Now
right.
we're going to spend a half hour out here.
Yeah.
I want to push that boundary.
But we do get there early and get the heat going inside the truck at least. So once we get in the truck, it's a little warmer. But
You're talking about the floor getting it clean. We had a team. So one of the very first, we started buying brand new trucks. Or started buying trucks, bought used trucks. When you buy a used truck, you got to go in it and find out what's wrong with it and all that stuff. So Eric and I would do that and get it ready for a team and then put a team in it. We thought buying a brand new truck, well, then we don't do all that. The truck's ready to go.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
we had one of our teams pick their truck up, and she moved into it. They moved into it, and they had all kinds of minor issues, but still issues up front that now, again, we don't do that anymore. We pick them up and go through them ourselves. But she called me, and she was almost in tears because she's like, I've cleaned this whole truck, but I can't get the floor clean because it's just turning into ice as soon as I spray it because it was January in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh.
And I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm going to pick it up and bring it down to Louisiana, and there's no ice down there. We'll get it cleaned there. Then I get in the truck. It is spotless. You could eat off literally the floor, but she couldn't get it any cleaner.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it
Yeah.
was insane.
Wow.
But that was, I remember getting that phone call just being like, it's just turning to ice and almost in tears. And I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. We'll get it clean.
72 days. 70. I'm going to put it.
you're making it, trying to make it sound like it's great.
I have an idea.
It's not.
Yep.
You've heard of an advent calendar, right?
Yeah.
We should do.
You
till
should do
spring.
72 days of whiskey.
72 days of whiskey and rum.
So if we say
Or
2.5
72 days.
months, it would sound like less.
Does
No.
it?
I don't think so. 72 days of winter remaining.
Yes.
You start with dark, heavy whiskeys. So every night you get to have like an ounce, and then it gets lighter.
Okay.
And then at some point it goes into rum
Okay. Yeah.
because rum is more spring.
Mhm.
And then you just, eventually you have Bacardi Silver to
Ew.
celebrate. to celebrate.
I'm going to pass on the Bacardi Silver, but that's quality rum.
Yeah,
We did this last year,
it's-
That's
so and I
quality
think
rum.
the year before, because this moment in time happens, and the cold happens, and we talk about it, and I will let's do the positive. The positive is we have so many days until spring. That's a positive,
No, it's not.
and every day we wake up, it's a shortened period of time.
This is not like the Christmas countdown. I got 72 sleeps till Christmas. No. No, no. It's
Yeah.
I got
Unfortunately,
72
it's the
more
Midwest,
days
too,
of
'cause
15-degree
Can you
weather.
really put an actual number on it?
No,
No.
because we'll get faux spring. Like we'll have
Well, it's
first
Well,
faux spring and
yes.
then winter, and then
Yeah.
second faux spring and then winter, and then you'll have a month of winter before you get the third faux
hard
spring.
winter, too.
Hard winter.
Hard
yeah.
winter.
Snow.
People's
ice.
pipes will burst.
Yeah.
It'll be
Yeah.
hard winter.
And then summer
Yeah.
immediately happens.
Immediately,
Yeah.
it
in
just
77
boom.
days. In
It's-
77 days,
Summer-
summer will immediately
Summer
happen.
Exactly.
gonna be here.
and summer flips a switch.
Yes.
Summer is like, I think it's spring. It's kind of nice, and it's like hot.
Yep. Here I am.
Here I am.
Summer just shows up.
It just shows up. It's
Yeah.
like the drunk uncle at the party. He's like, I'm here.
I'm here. Well, how are you drunk already?
But no one knows when they're arriving. Like, is summer coming? Like, maybe.
I think March 1st is the first official day of spring. The first fake ones come in April. That's why it's called April Fools. It's kind of nature's way of saying,
Yeah, but
you.
I was gonna say last winter, or
he said it, not me.
last. He owns the company. So last spring, FCC can direct your
exactly.
attention to. Last spring, we didn't get a spring. I don't think we got a spring last year, did we?
We skipped.
It went
Again,
straight from
It
freezing
was
to
72
hot.
days from now, and then it went 77, and
We did
The
have
uncle
we
came
did have
bursting in.
a couple of different faux springs,
we did.
and then
Yes,
we
okay,
did-
so we-
and but we never had an official spring. We had faux spring, winter, and then from winter to, like you said, kind of maybe spring. Nope, summer.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
It was really unique.
It was an off year. Last year was an off year because last year
was.
summer didn't want to end. Summer
Again, I
was
said we
summer
were in
was
a
here for the
drought.
It was.
party.
It was.
Summer was here for the summer was like November. It was like
What's this Thanksgiving thing you guys talk about?
yes,
I
I'd
want
like
to
to
experience
visit.
that.
I'd like to
And
visit.
then you guys are wondering why we have snow right now.
and then
Right?
all
He was
and then
upset.
and then
Yeah.
old
Like,
man
I didn't get my chance. Now I
Yep.
can.
old
Yes.
man fall fell. Old man Winter came in with guns
He
blazing,
did.
which
He got all the summer hoodlums out real quick.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's Snow Talk. That's a new segment that we'll have for the next 6 weeks.
And I won't be here for that.
And
Do you read articles from Freight Waves?
I do.
Nice.
I do. And speaking of, I saw an article on Freight Waves and I read it. I read it, not
Reddit.
read it. And it was interesting. So, New York City, our good friends at New York City,
Yeah.
shout out to New York. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop,
Jerry, you've
whoop.
been there a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
You like New York, right?
Yeah.
And if there was one thing you had to say about New York, you've told us many, many times, it's that it's uncongested, right? That it's easy to get in and out, no issues, right?
Yeah.
Is that really what you say?
No.
No,
No, it's congested.
it's congested as
Unless it's COVID.
it's as crazy as COVID. What?
We got across the GW in record time during COVID.
Well, this-
Nobody was on the bridge. We're like, 45 the whole way? No way.
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 It was way.
Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, New York City has introduced and made official and passed the New York Supreme Court and all this stuff. They are now doing congestion pricing for Manhattan.
Yeah.
So, what that means is if you drive into Manhattan in your personal car, in a commercial truck, in an 18-wheeler, you pay $1 billion to go into the city. It's like a toll that you have to pay for what they call peak travel times, which is pretty broad because it's like 6 or 7 a.m. in the morning until 9 p.m. on the weekdays, and at night it's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. But if it's outside of those times, you still pay a toll, but it's less. It's considerably less. And what they're trying to do is a few things.
Okay.
They're trying to, one, make it less congested. Get as, like, if you want to drive to New York City, it's going to cost you, right?
Yeah.
And so they're trying to get people $9 a day or whatever. I think it's 9 or 14. I think it's $9 a day for an individual car. Like
Yes. That's what I'm seeing here.
like a person just driving their car to work. So they figure $9 a day, $9 a day. You're going to go to work 5 days a week. That's real quick
$45.
math. $45. times 4.3, which is the weeks in a month, is 180 plus some.
Yes.
Trying to make it to where it's like, oh, that's really expensive. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to take a $2.25 subway into the city and go that route. So it's to limit congestion, get cars off the road. So they are like a toll bridge is tolled so that they can pay for the construction and upkeep of the bridge, right?
Okay.
This is a penalty toll. This is, we don't want you here. So if you're going to come,
We don't want your vehicle here.
we don't want your vehicle here. So if you're going to drive your vehicle here, you're going to pay a toll, a tax, one may say. I've actually heard it called that. I'll explain later what it means by the tax. And so get rid of congestion is one of the things. The second thing is to limit the number of trucks that are in the area during those business hours. Now, they've been trying this for years with peak times to come in the city and not for trucking and suggestions, and they've had all kinds of schemes on that for years and years and years. It's never really worked.
How are they supposed to get their supplies?
They say come after hours.
Oh, okay.
Like bring your stuff when businesses are closed.
Right.
Which sounds like a great idea. Like if
Yeah,
I'm
but
if I'm a Target store in the middle of Manhattan or Kmart, which was my favorite place to go to outside of Penn Station, it was like a 3-story Kmart. It was, anyways. Eric, am I, all right?
Yeah, it was huge.
It was great. So you would like it makes sense. That guy can show up at midnight. That Kmart can unload them and restock the shelves, and when it opens in the morning, it's fine. But what they're not thinking about is, what about construction? Job site construction. What about a lab, a small lab that's got 6 people that work there that's only open business hours? So it's got some issues, which is why it really hasn't worked. Because most places don't have after-hour delivery available.
Sure.
We don't.
Sure.
Right.
If someone wants to deliver tire chains to us at midnight tonight, they ain't doing it.
Right.
We don't have the ability to. That's why it's never worked out before in the past. So getting commercial trucks out of there, overall relieving congestion from everybody else. They're also looking at all that increase of money because there's still going to be a lot of people that go, right? There's going to be those people that are making $500,000 a year that are just going to look at that toll and go like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
That's just
Yep.
pay it. A lot of them, if they're high enough in their company's eating it, not them. And that'll be a perk for certain companies to say like, hey, we'll pay your congestion fee. So they know there's going to be a lot of money incoming to the city. And they say, we'll see how this goes. They're saying they're going to take all that money and put it into the subway system. Mostly. I mean, they also say like rapid transit in general, but the bulk of it's going to the subway. And I don't know if y'all spend a lot of time in New York City. If you're listening to this podcast and you spend a lot of time in New York City, I don't mean in a truck. I just mean like out and about. New York City subway is amazing and crumbling at the same time. It'll get you everywhere. It's great. It's fairly on time.
Yeah.
Fairly. It's not great, but it's decent. It goes everywhere, but it's crumbling. It's literally, you can sit there and see concrete like cracking and falling out of the roof. It's crazy how bad in disrepair it is. They've got articles all about like almost all of the delays are crumbling infrastructure related, repair and maintenance. It's very rarely staffing issues.
Wow.
So their goal is to take all this money and help beef this system up so that it gets more reliable, right? And then lastly, they're saying by having less people in the city, emergency services will have faster times in and out of the city. So if you're having a heart attack and seconds count, well, if the ambulance is stuck in traffic, not a lot they can do about it. But if there's not that traffic there, get to you and potentially save lives.
Wow.
So that's what's happening. That's the way they're selling it. They're selling it, and it sounds great, right? Like at first glance, it's kind of like, okay, that's kind of cool. We've experienced it in London. London, like England, London, England, has it in their downtown area. It's still reasonably congested. There's still a lot of buses and people around, but it's not bumper to bumper New York City insanity. And the reason it's not is because years ago they actually implemented congested tolling. And so they do have people, like if you want to take your car in, you get taxed. Now the taxi cabs are exempt, the buses are exempt, the garbage trucks are exempt. You know,
Sure.
those kind of services are exempt. And I'm not sure what New York City's doing. I'm sure the taxi cabs will be exempt, but I don't know about Ubers. I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Ubers or Lyft.
Everything I've said or everything I've read hasn't said which way it's going to be. So I'm not sure yet. But I do know this.
Or do you add that on to the person's fee?
Well, that's interesting, though, because cars
Yes.
have a daily
They
rate.
do.
They're not paying every time they go in. They're paying a daily rate.
Yes.
So that could be more reasonable
I agree.
than
$9 a day is the cost of doing business.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think about like a lot of airports. If you do Ubers a lot and you fly in and out of different airports, you'll notice a lot of airports now are charging Uber and Lyft fees.
Oh yeah.
It's one of
Per
the
ride.
reasons. Yeah, per ride. It's one of the reasons why for a long time Uber wasn't in a lot of airports. I mean, like the whole reason I have Lyft on my phone is because I flew somewhere, might have been Tulsa, Oklahoma or something, and Uber wasn't there. And it might have been you, Jerry, that actually told me to check out Lyft. I think you were using Lyft a lot back then.
I was.
And
Vince used Lyft a lot.
so I downloaded Lyft, and sure enough, they had cars. And so I was like, that's weird, and looked it up. And sure enough, it's because Lyft was fine with paying the fee, and Uber was like trying to do a hard no and
Right.
twist the city's arm. Well, long story short, Uber's learned that doesn't work with
Sure.
municipalities. Cities don't care. Government doesn't care. So
Right.
now if you take an Uber at one of those places, you'll notice there's always a little airport charge. Not always, but a lot of times there is airport
if the
charge.
airport's charging that extra fee, then Lyft and Uber are going to pass it on to you,
Absolutely. So when
certainly. Same thing with taxi cabs, though, too.
yes.
You know, taxi cabs picking up the airport are charging an extra fee as well. So,
Yeah, and a lot of times they put it in a base rate, right?
Yeah,
like they'll say
exactly.
like, oh, well, the base rate's $4.50, and then it's every so and so, right?
Right.
So they're hiding it, but it's there. When I first heard about this, I thought to myself, this would be a fun thing to talk about because I have opinions on it, and this is an interesting group of people. We have some relatively conservative people among us. We have some relatively liberal people among us, and I thought this would be a fun topic to talk about because depending on where you're sitting, this either sounds great or horrible. So as a trucking company that charges the tolls back to the customer, doesn't affect us a whole lot because we're just going to pass that on to the customer. So your package that you need us to deliver just got $14.80 more expensive, which on a $3,000 delivery,
Yeah. Not
who
a
cares?
huge deal.
It's nothing.
Not a huge deal.
Not a big deal at all.
Sure.
But if you are a small local company, like this article talks about, they talk about this guy. He's the head of the I forgot what the name of it was.
Trucking Association of New York.
That's the one. So he runs Trucking Association of New York. He owns a rapid delivery express company within New York City. All they do is New York City. So New York to New York. It's not. They're not doing. They might go to Jersey, but they're not going very far.
Sure.
And he's talking about how unfair the system is, and how the prices on his parcels are so cheap that toll does add a lot, because he feels like he can't pass that on. And he was saying I think $8,000 a month is what it's going to add tack
wasn't
onto his.
that also saying every time for trucks?
Yes, it is.
Every time for trucks. That's the point I was trying to make earlier, but I
Yeah.
realized you hadn't got to that. But trucks pay every time they enter. There is not a daily rate for trucks.
Correct.
And trucks pay more than do cars.
Yes.
But yet they want supplies.
What's that? Yes, they want supplies.
Yeah.
Well, it's
And
kind
then-
of like Connecticut's tax on trucks, right?
It is.
Where they want their supplies, but they're taxing trucks coming through Connecticut. So
Absolutely.
you just passing through using their roads.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're still. I'll let you finish what you were saying.
Eric
Sorry.
had something.
You said what I was going to say. It's a tax on trucks that aren't even doing business there. They just need to get to Massachusetts or anywhere else northeast past New York.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connecticut's is rough like that. Now, New York City's tax is only going into Manhattan. So if you're taking the GWB or something, you're not getting taxed on it. And they actually have a grid of streets, and I don't know if they
So
are,
it's
like
it's the hubbub, the skyscraper area of Manhattan. That's
Absolutely.
getting taxed.
yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
that makes sense.
It is
The congested area.
So it is
Oh, for my word.
streets and avenues below 60th, and all the way. That's it. Now they do exclude the West Side Highway, the FDR Drive, and the tunnel main roads. So those are like it's a weird interstate that shouldn't be there. There's an interstate on the east side, west side. Well, it's on both sides of Manhattan. That's like it's an eyesore. I don't know why they have these. They're not taxing those roads because they are full-fledged highways. These are more for like surface streets.
Sure. Your crisscross one way.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
All of that running the grid of
Correct.
your skyscraper downtown.
Yeah.
of
So
that.
if you're like coming through a tunnel and you're going to jump on that freeway and then drive it out, they're not taxing you. But if you're coming in and you want to stop at Dunkin' Donuts and then get on that freeway, you're paying.
Yep.
He was saying that again, it's going to add about $8,000 a month in his cost, and for his company alone. And again, he represents the Trucking Association of New York, and they're suing to overturn this. And it seemed like their biggest gripe was what Vince was saying about the unfairness of trucks being taxed per load versus the cars. So it's almost like they're kind of accepting the fee, but not really, but kind of accepting the fee. They just don't like the fact they have to pay every single time.
Right.
So a car can
Especially-
go in, a car can go out, a car can go in,
Yep.
car, 20 times, say an
Absolutely.
Uber,
You
like an
could-
Uber, and he's only going to get charged the $9
Or-
for one day.
Yes.
Or you drive in, you go to work for a couple hours, you drive up to the Bronx, and you have a meeting with someone, then you drive back to your office. So you went out of the zone, back into the zone. Then for lunch, you popped into Queens to have something to eat for lunch, and then you go right back into your zone. You're not paying anymore. You paid your $9. You're good to go, right? Then you drive back home.
But for the delivery
but for-
driver for this trucking
Correct.
association, he's going out, excuse me, to get supplies, bringing it back into store A, going out to get supplies.
Absolutely.
Store B.
Very, very common for construction sites.
Yes.
So a lot of times a construction site, you'll make a delivery, you'll go right back to the construction site's distribution
Staging
warehouse,
area.
staging area. Because in Manhattan, there's no staging area.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So you really are like, okay, go ahead and bring stack A of 2x4s.
Right.
And you go get stack A and bring it back. And then you have
Sure.
to go back and get stack B and be back here in 2 hours with stack B.
Right.
So every single time they're getting dinged.
$14 though, not the $9.
So $14 for a straight truck. They call it a small truck, the single vehicle, commercial vehicle, and then they say it's $22 for or $21.60 for a 2 vehicle truck, so 18-wheeler. So you look at an 18-wheeler cost if that's what you're running in and out with a construction company. $22 per trip in and out is a lot. I mean, that could really rack up a lot.
Sure.
I have
so-
opinions. Are you ready for them?
I am. I
Or
think.
you have more story?
Well, let me just see. I think I've given you all the information. So let's talk about it.
I would fight it too because you're bringing especially if you're a smaller company, like you said, maybe a construction company, or I could picture like a little delivery truck. I know when we did a couple loads into New York City, there was, the bread or the, whatever your local deliveries were. So why not a flat fee? Or why not a flat fee for the month for said companies? You have 10 trucks. You're going to average the amount of loads into the community. So we feel $500 for 30 days would be enough for tax. You come and go as you please.
Yeah.
Like a round number. Ultimately, you're just trying to get money to redo the system. My question is if you're forcing everybody out of their cars because maybe people don't want to pay, and you're putting all those people on the subway, is the subway really holding that many people? How crowded are you going to be? Are you going to have to amp up more trains, more lines? Like, where are you driving the people to the subways? Like, that would be my question.
Well, I think
How does that change? Buses?
So there's a few things here that's kind of fun. One is they are saying that that's part of the tax, part of the money, or the toll rather, is going to go to the subway, because even though you'll have an increase in ridership, so like now the subway is literally getting more money because people are paying to go on the subway.
Sure.
It's not enough to quickly buy more trains. It's not enough to quickly ramp up your infrastructure, right? You need a lot of money for that. So by this, they're able to buy so many trains. I forget how many it is. I did actually, like I said, this article is specifically on trucking, but I have actually seen other videos and articles on what they're doing. And it's quite a few trains they're buying, quite a few cars to be able to handle the influx of people, right? So, yes, from here, it's like, oh, that's not good. But they're already starting to invest in buying that equipment, knowing this money's coming. Because government's just like a business. They can buy on credit, knowing that, okay, well, this is coming. So they're already doing that. The other side to it is the subway. As much as I love the subway, and you just heard me say it's great, it goes everywhere, it doesn't actually go everywhere. There are large areas of New York City where the subway doesn't go. And shockingly, those are in predominantly poor areas. So it's making it more difficult for people that are in lower socioeconomic situations to get to the better jobs. So the tax I was referring to is poor tax. People are saying what they've created as a poor tax, right? You can no longer afford to drive your car into the city, so now you have to pay more money because there is no other option, because our subway doesn't go to where you live.
Sure. So now you got to take a cab, a bus, or whatever
Exactly.
even to get to the subway, to ride the subway. I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the idea of the tax. I do, if it's going to help beef up your infrastructure. Also, do there really need to be that many cars down that area? Vince and I did it. How many circles did we do before we could pull over and offload? I think we did six loops in Manhattan before we were permitted by
if you
the
had crossed
delivery.
the wrong streets.
But permitted by where we were delivering to it's now time for your truck to park here.
Yeah.
We're ready to unload you. But we literally had to do loops around the blocks for, I would say we did 3 to 6 loops, but cars. But I thought the people quantity was a lot too on the streets and walking. And
Sure, it's a very densely populated area.
Yeah.
Which so you can't find parking, but the poor people tax has been brought up a number of times in different scenarios when it comes to things like express lanes on highways.
True.
In California, I know around the Los Angeles area, you have the HOV lanes. For a long time, were free if you were running carpool.
Yeah.
2 or more in a car, you were free. You couldn't be in there if you were a single. And then they brought on the express lanes where they told you, even if you were in a carpool during certain hours, and if you were single, you could ride it if you were paying for it.
Yeah.
People who of a lower income couldn't afford to pay that extra money above and beyond the repairs in their vehicle and fuel to pay that express, so they're stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
So on one hand, you're penalizing people that can't afford to pay this tax to use these lanes.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, if that tax is going towards a infrastructure upgrade or something that benefits the masses versus just the well-to-do, I think I'm okay with charging people with money to help take care of things for the masses, whether it's mass transit or whatever else it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that other folks need to be on a bus or something, but if you're taxing a particular group by choice, not forcing someone, look, you make $20 an hour, you're paying this extra tax, not that way, but saying, hey, you're choosing to use these lanes and pay this toll, well, that money's going to go towards something that helps everybody.
Yeah.
So it's I'm kind of torn.
Well, and the city of New York's done a lot of things to improve its public transit options. So, like, the city bike thing, they've got city bikes, which is it's city bikes because it's named after Citibank. They sponsor it, but the city bikes are everywhere. They're free to use. You have to form an account online, but you can check a bike out, ride it, and go wherever.
Right.
And to back that up, the city of New York has put in hundreds of miles of bike paths that didn't used to exist. So now you have dedicated bike lanes as opposed to just trying to ride in
Running
the
people
streets.
over.
And yeah, so they've done a lot of improvement on that because they recognize some people don't want to ride a bus. They would rather get on their bike and go ride somewhere. So they are trying to like come up with multiple ways of doing things. When I look at something like, well, the subway doesn't go to certain areas, and Eric and I have been a victim of this. Victim, that's a strong word. But we were subject to. Thank you. We were we picked a hotel out one time. We were staying in New York City, and we were like, "Oh, this would be great. Let's go and stay at this place." It's ancient hotel. It's been there since the 1700s, and it was a hotel for the sailors when they would come in to the harbor to stay at, and
Ooh.
it was really cool. They had all these really tiny rooms. And then on the corners of the building were the officers for the ship, their places, their rooms and stuff. So it was a really cool experience. So we stayed there. We didn't realize there was no bus, there was no subway, there was no transit at all.
It was the last building before the
water.
Hudson River.
Yeah, before the Hudson River. There was no options. So it was literally like get off the subway and we're just going to walk for the next 30 minutes to get there.
Oh.
It was brutal. But it was a cool experience, but we did get to see. So, like, I do think about that when I think of, like, there are certain areas of the city that are just not served. And that's where I'm like, okay, that's tricky. But if they are putting more buses on the street, if they are, I don't know they're going to expand the subway anytime soon. They really need to work on upgrading and taking care of what they've got, and then they can think about expanding it some more. So it's not like those new areas are going to get, or those areas are going to get new subways anytime soon. I mean, and even if they did, that's 2 miles of subway is a decade project, a 10-year project.
Sure.
So, I like the idea from that perspective. I love like when you read the numbers of people in London and Paris has done it too, and there's a couple other cities that have done it, that have put this congestion pricing in and cleared up their downtown areas. When you look at, it's also good for pollution. It gets a lot of pollution out of the city as well. When you look at the response times from EMS and the amount of people that survive time-critical ailments, so not you broke your arm, but again, you're having a stroke, you're having a heart attack, you're having a seizure, something like that, it does go significantly up. Those cities have seen a dramatic increase, and when you look at the polling back in the day, it's a lot of people are against it. They hated it. And if you look at the numbers today, everyone loves it. Not everyone, but most people love it, right? Like most people love that Paris is easily accessible downtown, whereas 10 years ago it wasn't. They love that you can easily get into downtown London, whereas, again, 10 years ago you couldn't. And I think over time that's going to happen in New York City as well. But I don't know. I may see where it goes. I've already talked to some friends who hate it, and I'm like, I get that too. I understand the downside. I understand people don't like it.
What's your guys' opinion over there on the fellow couch?
I'm just curious on the areas where you're saying the subway doesn't go to, because I didn't pull up a map or anything. I mean, are those even in the tolling area? Like, could they drive to a hub and then get on the subway and without having to be told?
Yeah, some of the outer places can, but like if you're in the Bronx and you're trying to get into Manhattan, there's like a couple subway lines that go up there, and it's all city between the Bronx and New York City. There is no place to park and do that.
That's true.
Just extra info, the place you're talking about, from there to the nearest train stop is an 11-minute walk.
Jerry, what's your thoughts on this?
I'm all for it. I mean, whenever I stop and think about it, whenever you weigh the good with the bad, there's more good than there is bad. There's more good on the outcomes of it. And whenever it comes down to versus a personal car and a truck, there's always going to be more of a cost to do business.
Sure.
Always. Versus the individual. That goes with anything from credit cards. Business cards are always going to pay more. Whenever it comes to you get a business internet at home or office, you're going to pay double or triple what a home would pay. It's always going to cost more to do business. Those businesses are just going to pass that cost on to more people. You're going to see, like that guy in the article, I think he's going to see a cost, but he's just going to turn around and pass that on to the customers.
Right.
That's what every business in the world does. I remember
it's the only option we have.
Right.
Sure.
And I remember back in the day, whenever, they were coming out with redoing healthcare and Obamacare, what everybody calls it, I remember Papa John's coming out saying, oh, well, I'm going to have to raise my pizzas by 87 cents to give health and, insurance to my staff. Well, I would much rather pay 87 cents more for that benefit of your staff having health coverage and all this other stuff. I
Sure.
would rather pay a little bit more if I choose to take my vehicle into these areas because of the good and the benefits that it all provides.
The
Makes
unfortunate thing, a couple unfortunate things there is there are people that don't have that same attitude as you and don't want to pay the extra 87 cents for that pizza. They want the cheapest thing they can possibly get. The other thing that, and I get you, the other thing, though, is that the companies, I can't speak to Papa John's directly because I don't know, but there are a lot of companies when that happened decided, oh, well, our employees are no longer full-time employees. They're now part-time and we're cutting their hours. And those people didn't get benefits from the company because the company decided that was their way of cutting those costs. Speaking of low income, I did dig a little deeper. There is a 50% discount available for low-income vehicle owners enrolled in the low-income discount plan. The discount begins after the first 10 trips in a calendar month. So if you make 10 trips in at full rate, then you are eligible for the discount. You have to apply for it and proof of income. There's also a low-income tax credit for residents where you can get if you have an adjusted gross income less than $60,000, you may qualify for a tax credit in the amount of tolls paid. So there are programs here to help people, the lower-income people that have to drive in. There's also exemptions for disabled persons, emergency vehicles, school buses, and special government-owned vehicles.
Yeah.
What about for companies, though? Are they doing the same thing for lower-income companies?
No.
Like he was saying,
There's
UPS,
no such thing
FedEx.
as a lower-income company. I hear
They're
you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
No,
but I mean-
if you're a business, you're paying full boat.
Right.
No, but I mean, think about what our future commander-in-chief said. He paid no taxes. Like, there's a lot of small business owners who make money, but when it comes down to taxable income, they don't. So there's,
Sure.
there's small
Right.
business owners that take
Becomes a business expense.
they take full advantage of the exchange, the insurance
Yeah.
exchange, and they get it for next to nothing. And whether that's crooked or smart, it's not for me to decide.
Well, is it legal? That's the
or
question.
is it legal? It is legal. It's legal.
It's legal.
It's legal.
It's
yeah.
legal. So
Yeah, but I learned. So when I went to college, we had to take an ethics class, and there's ethics and there's legal.
Sure.
They're not the same.
they're not.
So I that's the question I have when I think about these things. Now, we're in a situation where we have a large enough staff that we have insurance benefits for everybody, and so we just joined that plan. That is how we pay for our health insurance. So we're not on the exchange, and we're not buying that way. But there's a lot of people that do. And it's not illegal. The system was set up for that. So if you can show that you're not making any income, you are getting a low income, even though you run that bakery, even though you have a house in Rehoboth Beach. You know what I mean? Like, sure. Like, if you can show and you can get into it. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that go to jail for fraud. So, I mean, that happens too. But, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be people who take advantage of that.
I do
I'm sure
think,
there are.
though, that there should be some kind of a plan where you're paying a whole number if you're having 40 Franz bread trucks going in
Sure.
every 30, 40 minutes. Probably doesn't happen that quick. It's New York City. Let's get real.
It
But you know what I'm saying?
might be, though.
But what I'm saying is if you're having
You happen to have a
50 to
business on
100
this side
trucks
and this side of that
delivering
street.
whatever it might be, coffee beans. So there's a lot of coffee shops down, whatever it might be. If you're having multiple vehicles multiple times a day, I do think there should be a cap on it. I think that would be fair. I don't know what that cap looks like. I'm not part of the the courts of making the decisions, but I think there should be a cap. And I get where the trucking association guy is saying something's not fair or not right. I hate to say not fair because life's not fair. Come on, people.
Yeah.
But I do think there needs to be a cap on it of some sort, because that business. I mean, how are you ultimately gonna? What if you do 2 bread deliveries to the same company in one day? Are you literally charging them the $24, $28, whatever it's going to be,
Or flour.
or whatever? You know
Bakery,
what I'm
a
saying?
bakery might have
I'm
several
just
loaves
saying,
of flour.
it just to me there needs to be a whole number for a 30-day period for a company that has a quantity of so many trucks crossing your street lines, your boundary lines. And that would just be my take. Otherwise, I think the whole thing sounds pretty cool, in my opinion, if it's helping the infrastructure of transportation.
So he said, so I might have a little bit of an insight-ish on that. So he does say, how do you pass on these costs to the consumer? Maybe a bigger trucking company like UPS or FedEx can withstand that. I know a lot of small companies can't. He's talking about how a lot of people are trying to get out of the business or leave, reconsider doing business in New York and all that stuff. Which to me is very reminiscent of when California passed all the original carb stuff and said you have to have a DPF filter and then you have to have an SCR filter. So many people. I mean, who's the guy on the radio that was like, stop going to California?
Rush Limbaugh? I'm just throwing on names. I don't know.
Rutherford.
Right.
Oh, Kevin
Right,
Rutherford.
Kevin Rutherford.
Yeah.
He was like, just don't go to California anymore. There's lots of freight outside of California. And he's right. There's lots of freight outside of California. But what happened was the people that could go to California
Yeah.
started charging more for it.
Right.
So the same thing that's going to happen in New York, right? Like already if you go to New York, get a double cheeseburger, it's like $6. Where it's here in Ohio, it's $4.
Right.
Like you're already paying a New York tax because it's so much more expensive. Go to Alaska, that same double cheeseburger is like $8. Like there are some things that come with where you're at regionally, but when he's talking about the big companies can absorb it, so those big companies, the UPSs, the FedExes, those giant LTLs that go in and out of New York City, and all the tolls with the GWB and all the parking tickets and all that stuff. What they do, pretty much all of them do, every year, they go to the city of New York and say, how does $100 million sound? And the city goes, sounds good. They write a check for $100 million. That's the end of it.
So less than what they probably would.
Less than what they owe, but it's a quick settle. The city gets their money immediately. And it may be $10 million, but still, it's
I get what
whatever it
you're
is.
Right. They're
Yeah.
writing a check.
They're writing a huge check, one that
Right.
would make all of our eyes water, just to make it go away.
Sure.
And so I can't help but wonder, are they going to do the exact same thing? They're going to go in without the toll passes. They're going to get all the fees and fines and everything. And then once a year, they're going to go into the city of New York and say,
Let's settle for a little less.
yeah, like, how does this sound?
Yeah. It's interesting for sure. My other question.
But a little company can't do that.
No. Another question is, do you have some sort of a? I think of Moo Moo Car Wash, the little scanner on your windshield that's got a chip in it. And are they going to have scanners at every intersection of said street? So when
Yes.
you cross it, it's going to
Yeah.
ding you.
That's
So
absolutely how.
And when you leave, it's going to ding you.
That's what I'm
They're,
saying.
they're
If they're-
pushing Easy Pass, which
Yeah, I was
is
gonna
their toll thing right now,
Uh-huh.
and using Easy Pass for it. Or if you're not using Easy Pass, you'll get the toll by mail.
Well, in New York City owns Easy Pass. So. Like,
They are the makers of it.
Yeah, Easy Pass is a New York City company.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
didn't know
tolls
that.
by mail
Yeah.
will be more expensive. The prices that Patrick was talking about, those are all Easy Pass prices.
Yeah.
If you don't have Easy Pass, the tolls will cost more.
But most of those people already have Easy Pass because you have to have it to get in the tunnels. You have
Right.
to have it to get across the GWB.
Right.
Right.
Every single one of our trucks has it. Like, it's a super common,
Sure.
especially if you lived in New York.
But they're going to put these little trackers of some sort,
They just
scanning
changed
device,
the program.
but on corners, like on 64th and 5th.
Oh, sure.
That's
Absolutely.
probably not a
Yep,
street
they'll have
intersection. But you know what I'm saying?
They'll have a
So
transponder.
anywhere you're going and you cross it,
Mhm.
it's going to go bloop and
Yep.
it's going to ding you.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, so you're talking about whatever. Well, yeah, it could be every 20, 30 minutes because they're warehouse is here and the company is here.
Yeah.
Across the street.
Right.
Across the street.
Oh, yeah.
Across the street.
Well,
across the street.
the big ones will be the people like literally your bread route people,
Yeah.
your milk route people. Anybody that's doing those routes is going to have to reevaluate those routes.
I was like,
Because
trip
if
planning.
your truck has you go out of the bounds,
Right.
across the street and back down, across and back up and down,
What if you can't
one
get
truck
around
could
that,
rack
though?
up $100 and so they're gonna
Seconds.
you're gonna have to reroute your trucks to make sure once they get in the route
They stay in
they
it.
stay in it, do everything they can, and then leave.
Wow.
Here's a fun fact.
I love fun facts.
There's already rate increases planned into this thing.
Well, okay, yes, there is rate increases playing into it. I saw that too, but there's also this thing started at 40% of what they want it to be.
Right. Get sure.
So originally, it was the city of New York said, "I'm not going to put this through. I'm going to hold it tight." Yada yada. And when he finally agreed to, they had dropped the prices. Either they dropped it 40% or they went down to 40% of the
They
original.
went down to 40% of the original.
So-
How I read that.
Okay, yeah.
So today for a car, peak period, it's $9. In 2028, it goes up to $12,
Oof.
and in 2031, it goes up to $15. For a single unit vehicle today, it is $14.40. 2028 goes to $19.20, and $24 in 2031. And for a multi-unit vehicle, it's $21.60 today. It goes to $28.80 in 2028. And $36 in 2031.
Okay.
What's going to be really fun is when you're over the road like our trucks are, and you took the Pennsylvania Turnpike
Rich, oh my gosh.
all the way across. So you're at $100,
Yeah.
over $100 before you ever
Yeah.
get to New York.
A little over 100.
Then you jump on the New Jersey Turnpike for a couple of minutes, not long. Just pay them whatever that is. You jump across the GWB, which is another
About half of the
about half that, about
Pennsylvania
$50,
Turnpike.
$60. You cut into New York, you go down into the city, and then
Because
you
you've
hit
got to get to Bronx.
because you've got not the Bronx. You got to
Oh.
get to Manhattan. You got to get to one of those customers there, and I can't see who the customers are, but
Yep.
both carriers we work with have customers in that area.
Yes, they
You
do.
get down there, and then you get boom.
Yep.
And then you remember that you had that really great pizza place you wanted to go to, and they won't let you, so you bounce out of the area, and
Yep. Go back. Yeah.
that's going to be a
That'd be
conversation.
fun.
Oh, we have to have a conversation. We're going to have to monitor this.
No pizza.
Uh,
no
In our
pizza joints?
position, though, I mean, that's really going to come from the carrier. I mean, we're going to.
Absolutely. 100%. The big over-the-road guys, like a lot of that's going to get passed on to the carrier. If you're paying thousands of dollars to have something shipped, $15, who cares? It is going to get passed on the carrier, and but our situation is like because a lot of our teams pop it in New York City and they have their little private areas to park. You know what I'm talking about. And I could see one of them easily like, hey, let's drive over to fill in the blank street and get a piece of cheesecake or a piece of pizza or something, and then drive back, and they accidentally pop out of the zone and back into
Yeah.
it. Like when you cross a bridge, it's pretty obvious, but if it's just
The
like a
zone.
random street,
Yeah.
we need to
So maybe that's where they have to take an Uber
Well,
or
yeah,
walk or the
exact-
subway.
exactly, and we may have to have a little like email go out just telling people,
Or
hey,
maybe they
this-
get the surcharge passed along to their pizza.
sure.
Yeah.
You know what? Listen, I'm telling you right now, I'm not even kidding. I have had pizza and I've had cheesecake worth
Adding this-
$32
That's right.
of
There you
surcharge.
go.
I'm
There
not.
you
I'm not
go.
gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
So my thing is, I don't think it's a big deal for it to be going up for the personal vehicles, right? Because that money is slowly going into the infrastructure for the subway. That's going to grow. More people are going to go on the subway, so it's going to balance each other out,
Yes.
right? But the trucks business isn't going to change. They can't unless they find some other way
It's just taking advantage.
of
That's all it is.
right delivering their stuff. Why should they be getting that increase?
It's just a new. That's just a new tax.
They can't do anything else.
In my opinion, that's a new tax. It's just a.
It's not like luxury traveling.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Right.
That's
extra
just a,
travel.
It's just,
Exactly.
It's the Connecticut thing. It's just a new way to get more money out of trucking in general.
It's
and
going to be
commercial vehicle.
interesting. I'm excited to see the fallout, the blowback, the positives, the all directions of it to see where it goes. And in our industry, with either carrier, see how teams be smart about it and maybe include it or trip plan differently. Hopefully some of our teams are watching this and the hubbub will spread.
Yeah.
That this is going on, and you do need to be. Maybe there's a map. Is there a map? Where you
It's
can
everything
download?
south of 60th Street.
So be very conscious of your. How many loops around the city are you going to do? Vince and I drove them. Would we have been in that, or would we have been in and out, in and out, in and out when we did our loops? I mean, to me, that's all part of trip planning. And if they're not ready for you to pull up and offload, and you do have to make a loop, are you staying within the loop? Are you going to get charged coming in and out? So definitely, I'm excited to kind of see the fallout and the positives, the negatives.
Yeah.
Let us know if you've already experienced it.
Yeah.
Also, for some information, you said it was 63 in south of that.
The 60th, I believe.
60th south.
In south.
So, for the record, 59th is the bottom edge of Central Park.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So, 2 streets north of Central Park is where it starts.
Let us know what you think about it in the comments. Shoot us an email at
theouterbeltpodcast@gmail.com.
also known as,
theouterbeltpodcast@gmail.com.
and one more time from the new one.
The Outer Belt Podcast at gmail.com.
Oh, she's in.
She's in. She's good. She makes the cut. Please let us know real quick. What do y'all think of Zucchini Bread? We'd love to hear your comments as well on that. Should we keep her or not? It's going to be completely in your hands.
Right.
And by that, I mean mine. So we'd love to hear you say. If you were like, what is this trucking thing they do? Like, the first half had nothing to do with it. The back half had everything to do with it. Jerry, how can we find that out?
Visit us over at hyfieldtrucking.com. You can find out all there is to know about Hyfield on there. You can also reach out to us via chat to our recruiting department or give us a call at 833-493-4353, option 1 for recruiting. They would love to talk to you all day long and tell you all about everything that we do at Hyfield.
That's 833 Hyfield, option 1.
833
Hyfield.
Hyfield.
Or 833-493-4353, option 1.
It's so funny. I have to
Monday
ask.
through Friday.
If I have to give that number out, I have to ask him.
Just do
Every time.
833
It's a text.
Hyfield. 833 Hyfield.
In the meantime,
Yes.
until we see you next week, welcome back to second part of season.
Happy 2025.
Yes, happy.
Season 3.
Oh, I thought you were saying 2023. I'm like, no, that
We're not
amnesia is
going
real.
backwards. 2025, season 3.
Yes, we have some great things planned for y'all. We have some fun to be had, and I'll keep it short
Looking forward to good times.
in warm weather.
Yes, sir.
72 days.
Drive safe, make good decisions.
Don't leave money on the table.
And keep those wheels a turning.
Good night.
Bye.